Let me tell you a story of fate, deception, and the unyielding power of family bonds that changed one man's life forever. Picture a night so ordinary it seemed destined to blend into countless others, yet its echoes would haunt every moment that followed. This is the story of Raj, a kind-hearted, hard-working man whose world was turned upside down by one cruel twist of fate. Raj had always been the embodiment of integrity, a man who believed that hard work and honesty would pave the way to a better future. That evening, as he stepped out of his office building into the cool embrace of dusk, the city around him hummed with life. Distant chatter, the rhythmic clatter of footsteps on pavement, the soft murmur of nighttime traffic. But as he made his way toward his car, an unexpected sound, a sharp, frantic clatter from a narrow alley, grabbed his attention. Without a moment's hesitation, Raj paused. His instincts told him something was amiss. Before he could process the scene, a blur of movement darted past, and in that split second, everything changed. Flashing red and blue lights exploded onto the scene as police vehicles screeched to a halt, their sirens wailing a tone of urgent alarm. "Freeze!" shouted a commanding voice, and in a bewildering whirl of confusion, Raj found himself encircled by armed officers. At his feet lay a bag brimming with cash, a sight so incongruous with his simple, honest life that it felt unreal. His heart pounded in his chest as he stammered his protests, but no explanation could counter the overwhelming evidence. Grainy CCTV footage showed a man who looked remarkably like him fleeing a bank robbery moments earlier, and an eyewitness testimony placed him right at the scene. Handcuffed and overwhelmed by betrayal, Raj was thrust into the cold, harsh world of an interrogation room. The sterile environment, the stern gazes of law enforcement, all of it conspired to make him feel as if his very soul was being dissected. He remembered every detail of that night, the crisp air, the distant echoes of city life, now replaced by a suffocating silence filled only with accusations. In his despair, Raj clung to one thought: "I am innocent." But even as he repeated these words like a desperate mantra, the world outside the prison walls was busy writing a different story for him, a story that painted him as a villain. Yet, in the midst of this chaos, there was a light, a steadfast, unwavering light that shone from his younger brother, Aryan. Aryan was not merely a sibling. He was Raj's confidant, his anchor in the storm of injustice. A brilliant law student with a fierce sense of right and wrong, Aryan refused to accept the narrative that the authorities had so hastily constructed. The bond they shared was forged in years of shared laughter, struggles, and dreams. It was this bond that ignited Aryan's determination to uncover the truth, to rescue his brother from the quicksand of a system that had already written him off as a criminal. While Raj languished in the stark confines of that interrogation room, Aryan set off on his own perilous quest. Under the dim glow of streetlights and the relentless drizzle of rain, he retraced Raj's steps that fateful night. Every detail was scrutinized, every shadow questioned. It wasn't long before Aryan discovered a subtle but critical discrepancy, a clue that defied the narrative of guilt. The CCTV footage, meticulously examined frame by frame, revealed a small detail that most had overlooked. The man caught on camera sported a slight, unmistakable limp. Raj, known for his steady, assured gait, could never have moved in such a manner. This tiny incongruity was the thread that Aryan clung to, the key to unraveling a web of deceit. Driven by this revelation, Aryan plunged deeper into the murky depths of the investigation. He spent sleepless nights poring over security footage, revisiting the alley where fate had first turned awry, and interviewing anyone who might have seen something out of place. The city, with all its hidden corners and whispered secrets, began to divulge its stories to him. Among the murmurs and half-forgotten recollections, one name emerged, a name that resonated with dark undertones of envy and betrayal: Vikram. Vikram had once been a trusted colleague of Raj's, someone who had shared the same workspace, the same dreams of success. But envy can twist even the purest of hearts. And Vikram's admiration for Raj had curdled into seething resentment ever since Raj's recent promotion. In hushed conversations and furtive glances, Aryan began to piece together a disturbing picture. Vikram's behavior had grown erratic, his presence increasingly marked by nervous energy and a suspicious absence during crucial moments. And then, in the wake of Raj's arrest, Vikram had inexplicably vanished without a trace. With every passing moment, the pieces of the puzzle began to align. Aryan's investigation led him down labyrinthine alleys of corruption, where alliances were as fleeting as shadows and trust was a commodity in short supply. Late one rainy night, as he sifted through a tangle of discarded receipts and faded photographs in a cramped, dimly lit archive room, Aryan discovered a series of transactions that pointed to a hidden network, a clandestine operation that seemed to have orchestrated the entire setup. His heart pounded as he realized that Raj's framing was not a mere accident, but a meticulously planned coup de grace, aimed at sabotaging his rising star and reaping illicit rewards. Every clue Aryan unearthed deepened the intrigue. He learned that Vikram had been seen in secret meetings with notorious figures from the underworld, men whose names were whispered in fear and respect in the darkest corners of the city. These encounters, shrouded in mystery and laced with treachery, painted a picture of a man desperate to seize power by any means necessary, even if it meant sacrificing an innocent life. And so, Aryan devised a daring plan, a trap that would force the true culprit to reveal himself, once and for all. Under the veil of night, in an abandoned industrial complex that had long been forgotten by the city, Aryan arranged a secret rendezvous. The atmosphere was electric with tension as he set the stage. A barren warehouse filled with echoes of forgotten labor and the ghosts of past sins. Disguised in plain clothes and armed only with his unyielding determination and a discreet recorder, Aryan waited. Every sound, every creak of the old building sent shivers down his spine. The minutes ticked by, each one heavy with anticipation, until finally Vikram arrived. Vikram's entrance was as furtive as his previous escapades. A nervous glance over his shoulder, a quick scan of the darkened corners, and then he stepped into the center of the empty space. His eyes darted around, and for a fleeting moment, the mask of arrogance slipped, revealing a soul burdened by guilt and desperation. Aryan's pulse raced as he engaged Vikram in casual conversation, his tone deceptively calm. He spoke of escape routes, of plans to flee the city, of opportunities that awaited those bold enough to seize them. All the while, his recorder captured every syllable, every hesitant pause that betrayed the truth. The dialogue that ensued was a masterclass in subterfuge and tension. Vikram, emboldened by the belief that he was finally free from the constraints of suspicion, began to divulge the intricate details of his scheme. In measured tones, he recounted how he had orchestrated the entire setup, how he had manipulated the evidence, arranged the surveillance cameras, and even used prosthetics to mimic Raj's features in a bid to secure a swift conviction. His words were laced with hubris, each revelation a nail in the coffin of his own innocence. And as he spoke, Aryan's recorder captured every moment, every confession that would soon shatter the walls of deceit built around Raj. But the story does not end there. In the days that followed, as the first light of dawn chased away the remnants of darkness, Aryan's discovery sent shockwaves through the corridors of justice. The recording was presented to a detective who had long harbored doubts about Raj's guilt, a seasoned officer with a reputation for unorthodox methods and a keen sense of truth. This detective, moved by the gravity of the evidence and the palpable sincerity in Aryan's eyes, reopened the investigation with a fervor that caught even the most cynical onlookers by surprise. The city, which had once whispered rumors of guilt and treachery, now buzzed with a renewed hope for justice. News of the recording spread like wildfire, igniting debates in hushed coffee shop corners and crowded subway cars. People began to question the integrity of the system that had so hastily condemned an innocent man. Meanwhile, Raj, who had endured days that felt like an eternity in a cold, sterile cell, held on to the memory of his brother's unyielding faith. Every moment of isolation, every second of despair, was tempered by the hope that truth would ultimately prevail. As the investigation unfolded, layers of conspiracy were peeled back like the fragile pages of a long-forgotten diary. It emerged that Vikram was not working alone. There were whispers of a shadowy cabal, a network of corrupt officials and criminal masterminds who had seen Raj's rise as a threat to their own nefarious interests. The revelation added a new dimension to the case, a sinister complexity that hinted at corruption reaching far beyond one man's jealousy. In a twist that no one saw coming, a trusted colleague from within the police force came forward with information that implicated high-ranking officials in the orchestration of the frame-up. This brave whistleblower, risking everything, provided documents and testimonies that painted a damning picture of collusion and betrayal. Amidst the chaos, Aryan remained a pillar of resolve. His nights were now consumed by hours of cross-referencing evidence, his days spent meeting with those who had once doubted his cause. Every obstacle only steeled his determination. He visited old friends, seeking their help to trace the origins of suspicious transactions, and even reached out to a retired detective known for solving cases that had baffled his peers. Together, they mapped out a timeline, a labyrinth of meetings, financial records, and hidden communications that slowly revealed how far the corruption extended. There were moments of sheer terror, too. On one rainy evening, as Aryan was returning from a clandestine meeting with an informant, he felt the unmistakable chill of being followed. Shadows moved in the periphery of his vision, and he could hear the echo of footsteps quickening behind him. The tension was palpable, a heart-pounding reminder that in the pursuit of truth, one's very life can be at risk. Yet even in those moments, Aryan pressed on, guided by an inner light that refused to be snuffed out by fear. Back at the police station, the detective spearheading the reopened case confronted the higher-ups with the evidence. Heated exchanges took place in corridors where power and ambition often clouded justice. Papers were shuffled, accusations were made, and the once impenetrable facade of authority began to crumble. As the evidence mounted, so did the pressure on those who had orchestrated the frame-up. The turning point came when a crucial piece of evidence, a digital time-stamped video segment from a security camera in a small convenience store, irrefutably placed Vikram at the scene of another related crime. This new detail not only bolstered Aryan's findings, but also served as the final blow to the network of deceit that had ensnared Raj. The day Raj was finally exonerated was one of surreal relief and bitter reflection. Walking out of the courthouse, he felt the weight of months of despair lift off his shoulders, replaced by an overwhelming gratitude for the brother who had risked everything for him. Yet, as he gazed into the horizon, the scars of betrayal and injustice were indelibly etched into his being. He knew that the world was a complicated tapestry, woven with threads of both light and shadow, and that sometimes even the most honest hearts must endure the darkness before they can appreciate the dawn. In the aftermath, Raj and Aryan's story became more than just a tale of one man's wrongful arrest. It evolved into a symbol of resistance against corruption and the triumph of truth over treachery. Community meetings were held in which citizens shared their own experiences of injustice, and slowly, a movement began to take shape, one that demanded transparency, accountability, and the unwavering protection of the innocent. Raj, once a man defined by the stigma of a crime he never committed, emerged as a beacon of resilience. He spoke at local gatherings, his voice steady and resolute, urging others to never lose hope, no matter how deep the shadows may seem. As for Aryan, his journey did not end with the capture of Vikram or the collapse of a corrupt network. Instead, it marked the beginning of a lifelong commitment to ensuring that no one else would suffer as his brother had. He went on to become a respected figure in legal reform, advocating tirelessly for the rights of the wrongfully accused and working alongside dedicated reformists to reshape a system that had once failed him and his family. His story, like that of his brothers, was a testament to the transformative power of perseverance, integrity, and above all, love. Even now, on quiet evenings when the city seems to pause in reverence for what has been endured and overcome, whispers of Raj and Aryan's ordeal can be heard, a reminder that even in the darkest nights, the light of truth and loyalty can guide us home. Their journey is a call to every listener. In a world where deceit and corruption lurk in unexpected corners, the courage to stand up for what is right, to seek the truth relentlessly, and to hold fast to those we love can ultimately rewrite even the most harrowing of fates. So, as you listen to this tale, a narrative woven with threads of suspense, heartbreak, and ultimate redemption, remember that our lives are not defined by the misfortunes that befall us, but by the strength with which we rise above them. And in that rise, in the quiet defiance against injustice, we find our truest selves. This is not just a story of a man wrongly accused or a brother who fought against all odds. It is a story for every one of us, a story that reminds us that in the face of overwhelming darkness, our inner light, our determination to seek truth and justice, can illuminate the path to a better tomorrow.